Hi, everybody. So, I'm going to be talking about my 12 articles. And let's see. These are my 12 articles. Well, 10 and the two I'm going to be not using. And my research question is, what are the health risks associated with traveling? And the peer-reviewed articles I picked out all have examples of these health risks that are correlated to traveling. And when I say health risk, I mean a hazard that can have a dangerous impact on a traveler's physical and or mental well-being. And so yeah, let's get started. So the first one that I picked out is about a study done on public health professionals that participated in anonymous surveys about pre and post travel health. And one thing that got me really thinking was this part right here that talks about health risks activity, like visiting rural areas, handling animals, contact with blood or bodily fluids, and visiting malarious areas. And with this, I started thinking about other health risks that we are exposed to whenever we travel. So, yeah, that's the first one. And the second one is this is about specifically business travel. And within this study of business employees that frequently travel for their careers, it says that um, hmm. Oh, it says that there were several negative associations were observed between frequency and duration of travel and self-reported measures of health status and lifestyle choices. So a negative association is when something goes up, the other thing goes down. So when the frequency of and duration of travel went up, the self-reported measures of health status and lifestyle choices went down. And on top of this, the findings suggest that the odds of drinking over the recommended limit are associated with an increase in the frequency of travel. And that is shown within right here. There's a little study on it. And the next article I chose shows this is an essay, and it shows the darker sides of travel. And this is supported from 15 years of studies about travels. And in this one, what I found interesting was a whole paragraph about jet lag. And usually when people travel, they don't consider jet lag to be very disrupting, but this article describes jet lag as affecting sleep, wake, and gastrointestinal patterns following high-speed travel across many time zones with significant feelings of jet lag. Wait, that's not what I wanted to say. Oh, this is what I wanted to say. I'm sorry. Is that there's a disruption of the body's circadian rhythm, which affects sleep, wake, and gastrointestinal patterns. And with this, this is more of a side effect on a smaller scale. This isn't necessarily an infectious disease or a sickness, but it does show a consequence that is overlooked. And the next article I chose, this is about this article is about infectious diseases within traveling, and that's the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about getting sick when I'm traveling. And this article has an interesting study about SARS, and SARS is a here we go. SARS is severe acute respiratory syndrome, and that it's caused by a virus, and it can lead to a dry cough, high fever, and other symptoms. And here, there was a SARS outbreak resulting in one businessman traveling throughout Europe, which I thought was pretty interesting. So that also shows another risk of traveling is uh, being vulnerable to infectious diseases. And the next article, this article is about various risks, including infectious diseases, road traffic accidents and injuries, conflict-related violence, and deliberate attacks. And this article has a pretty large section about violence right here, which I didn't really consider when I was first researching this topic. So I thought violence would be an interesting risk to add. And the next article, this one talks primarily about domestic traveling of business employees again. And usually when I think of health risks, I think of foreign travel and infectious diseases. But this article really puts our health risks in perspective, and it lays out different motor vehicle risks that we are exposed to, and how let me see. Oh, and how there are also hazards within an aircraft that can affect a person's health. And there's an interesting statistic in here that says, oh, here we go. In 2000, automobile accidents involving civilian workers accounted for more than 23% of all workplace fatalities. And I just think that really puts it in perspective, how business travel can be putting our lives at risk. The next article I chose is, I actually chose this thinking about all the risks and what can be done to limit these risks. So this one is devoted to a new type of medicine, and it's known as travel medicine, and this primarily focuses on, let's see, oh, here we go. So it says, to tackle the upcoming problem, there is an imperative need to develop a new branch of medicine with the name of travel medicine. And within this, we can find different, a lot of advice to help prepare travelers and help inform them of their risks of the risks that they are exposed to when they're traveling. And this sort of branch of medicine would focus on pre-travel medical consultation and stuff like that. So this article I thought was really interesting because it has a pretty positive outlook. Like it says, there's all these different health risks, but we can also apply our knowledge and get people informed beforehand, which would help a lot. And the next article I chose, this is kind of on the same idea of the last article, and this is about informing people before they go abroad or before they travel. And a big reason why people become sick is just lack of information, just lack of knowledge of where they're traveling to. And this is about a survey done, and a really shocking statistic. Well, let me back up. This was a study that was examining websites of all airlines available on the homepage of the International Air Transport Association, also known as IATA. And this statistic says that 7 of 73 homepages identified from the IATA homepage contained information on health issues, which is a pretty alarming statistic. So I could also use this in my essay or my project to bring attention to the fact that travelers are unprepared and they just don't have knowledge of their risks when they're traveling. Well, okay. So I don't know what happened here. Let me try and refresh. Okay, well, I'll just tell you what this article is about. So, apart from international traveling itself, there are still health risks associated with our means of transportation as well. So, when we're visiting big cities, there are many ways to get around, including taxis and trains and cars. And this study was done in Switzerland, talking about transportation, and it talks about the effects of air pollution in transportation, and also, or air pollution and transportation related noise on human health. And I wrote down a statistic, luckily, so I won't have to pull it up on this article, but it says that 8,700 cardiorespiratory hospital days attributed to air pollution exposure, estimated burden due to noise alone amounted to 22,500 hospital days. So if you think about it, those are really big numbers, and this is just a health risk that is within big cities. So if you go to New York, then you could be exposed to transportation-related noise or air pollution and stuff like that. And the last article I will be using, this one has information about vaccines that are recommended or required while traveling. And this article is basically an overview of infectious diseases and the vaccines that we can get. So, yeah. And finally, the two that I won't be using are right here. And when I first looked at these articles, I thought that they would be able to apply to my question. They have a lot of statistics and, they're pretty informative, but overall, this article is just mainly about where students get their health knowledge from and how informed they are about risks associated with their travel destinations. So this is more students and studying abroad, and I just didn't really think that this applied to my article. I kind of already have another article about vaccines. Wait. Nope, I completely lied. That's this article. I clicked on the wrong one. I'm so sorry. Yeah, this one's about students and studying abroad and their information that they receive before traveling. And there's a lot of information about it, but I just didn't think it really applied. Now back to this one. All right. This one also has health risks in many different regions, but I just thought that it was a little vague. It just didn't really seem well put together, and this table I don't want to look at it. But yeah, so those are my 12 articles, and I hope you enjoyed this video.